Good evening, it's now 6 o'clock, so I'll open the meeting of Cabinet. The first item, apologies for absence. Sian, do we have any apologies? No, we haven't received any. Second, urgent business. None received. Item 3, declarations of interest. Do any members need to declare any interest in any of the matters to be discussed this evening? I'll take silence to mean no. Item 4, public question time. No public questions have been received. Item 5, the minutes of the previous meeting. These begin on page 1. Are Cabinet happy to agree those as a correct record?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Item 6, social housing allocation scheme beginning on page 21. Hannah, are you going to take us through this?
Yes, I am. So, as the report outlines, we're facing as a borough, and we're not alone in this, a significant increase in the demand for social housing. This is partly because of the number of lets are down, so the number of people moving out and making properties available to be let is reducing, and the demand is increasing. So as you can see from that, we're in a position where we are having to manage our stock that we have as best as we can. Clearly, the best solution to this would be to be able to have a programme of significant building of social housing. However, current government policy does not allow us to do this. Therefore, while we will be coming forward with ideas about how we can better meet needs across the board in the borough for housing as part of our housing strategy later in the year, the position is that we have to make sure that we're making the best use of what we have in terms of social housing stock, and that we're making sure that it is meeting needs appropriately. So we have undertaken a review where, together with our partners who are part of the Common Allocations Framework, so that is the registered housing providers in the borough, the housing associations, we've looked again at the way that the allocations process works. We have identified that we have approximately 5,000 households who are in recognised housing need according to the legislation in the borough, out of a total of around about 24,000 households who are on the housing register. We have consulted with our partners. We've undertaken a public consultation on the proposal that what we will do is that we will focus letting our social housing stock solely to those 5,000 households in identified need. And the consultation and the response to that is detailed in the report, broadly supportive of the council's proposal. So what we're proposing is that we no longer let what social housing there is that becomes available on a 50-50 basis. So if currently, the current position is 50% to those in identified housing need, 50% to other people on the housing register. And from now on, we're saying that all of our housing, social housing, will be let to those who are in identified housing need. Now, as I referred to earlier, we know this is a significant change. We also know that that's still going to leave us with a substantial amount of unmet housing need in the borough, and we will be coming forward, as I said, in our housing strategy with ways that we want to address that. But in the meantime, we feel that we have to make this change in order to deal with the large numbers of people we have who are in need, and that can mean people who are living in housing that's unfit for people shouldn't be living in it. It can mean that people are overcrowded. It can mean that people have developed a medical condition, which means that their current housing is no longer suitable for them. And as the report details, there's also a significant number of our fellow residents who have no home at all. So the recommendations are in the report in front of you, and I would ask that we agree it.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. And I've got to say that as a ward member, often I receive numerous cases of people that want to seek rehousing in social housing stock in Oldham. And on occasions there have been times when houses have not been awarded to those who do have that identified housing need, but they have gone to others who do not. And it's very difficult to justify how we can do that. when we have such little stock and such little power and freedom to build the houses that we need so that we can accommodate those. I think that this is the right decision, and we do need to target our provision at those in the housing need that you describe, but we just need ultimately we need a change of government policy so that we can get building and we can really meet the demands of the residents, not just in Oldham, but of people up and down the country who are either in unfit housing, homeless, or the other housing needs that you described. We can do what we can here, but it's a change of government policy that's going to get us out of the issues that we have with housing. So if no other members wish to speak on this item, can I ask you to accept the recommendations as set out in the report? Agreed. Thank you.
Well, I realise that I should have made a declaration of interest in items later on in the agenda.
Councillor, you can make that declaration now.
Right, okay, so I'm a trustee of Positive Steps Oldham, and items items 10 and 11 are about extending contracts as a personal interest, not a pecuniary interest.
Will Councillor Roberts be required to leave the room at that point?
Can I also make my acknowledgement in terms of Positive Steps? I'm a trustee on Positive Steps for those two items.
Thanks, Councillor Jakes. Is that noted? Yeah. And that's a personal interest as well, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Item 7, Fleet Replacement Programme. Councillor Shah?
Thank you, Chair. So this is just to seek approval for the new vehicles in financial year 2019 and 2020 and 21. This is an underspend that is available, and it's just seeking approval for the procurement exercise to replace vehicles that have come to end of life. So basically that we do that anyway after 5 to 7 years when they come to end of life, we make sure so that they're compliant and economical going forward. We do this as an exercise, so it's just seeking formal approval today here for that.
Thanks, Councillor Shah. That seems relatively uncontroversial. The Cabinet happy to agree with the recommendations? Agreed. Thank you. Item 8, some particular vehicles that we need to replace.
Yep. So in our commitment to ensure that the borough is a clean borough and cleaning is like our basic services, but we take them seriously. This is just the approval of 18 waste collection vehicles that we need. We've gone through the procurement. We've gone with the contractor who's called Dennis Eagle, which is really effective, really economical, and their sizes of their vehicles are so that we can get into some of our hillier and smaller streets. So this is just seeking approval to purchase them 18 vehicles.
Dennis Eagle's not a person, is it?
No, it's not.
No. All right. Okay. The Cabinet agree the recommendations?
Agreed.
Thank you. Okay. Item 9, request for an extension of the sexual health contract. Councillor Chowan.
Thank you. This contract was originally awarded in August 2015 between Rochdale, joint contract by Rochdale, Bury and Oldham. We are mandated as a council to offer open sexual health service. We're requesting the extension. Original contract was 3 years, 3 months. We're requesting the extension of 2 years, which will give us enough time to look at the future commissioning model on clusters levels, but also 2 years will be enough time for them to come up with more shared care models where we can support our practice teams and practice nurses to make sure they don't get de-skilled. So I'll ask you to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Chowan. Do members have any comments or observations on this item? No. In that case, are members happy to agree the recommendation?
Yep.
Agreed. Thank you. Item 10 is support to vulnerable people, commissioned early help services. Councillor Raymond.
Thanks, Chair. This report is self-explanatory. It's seeking for 1 year, 12 months extension to our current contract with Positive Steps. The reason for that is that we're actually going through, near completion, a strategic review of how the Council and our current partners approach early intervention and prevention. And the review will hopefully make some recommendations in terms of investment in commissioning and design of preventative services for both adults and young people. So this report is seeking a one-year extension, Chair, so that review can take place, so we can make more informed decisions for future directions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do members have any questions or observations on this report? No? In that case, are members happy to agree the recommendation?
Yeah,
Thank you. Okay, item 11, approval to extend the contract for the delivery of integrated support services to young people. Councillor Chatterton.
Thank you. This is similar to Councillor Arman's paper. In 2015, we commissioned Positive Steps to carry out our targeted youth services. This includes things like reducing our NEET numbers, reducing reoffending and support for young carers as well. There's an option in the contract to extend for a further 12 months to take us to March 2020. The report is to seek approval to that while we continue with the review of the early intervention and prevention, and then we'll come back in 12 months. Positive Steps are held in quite regard, and they do some good work for us. They've continued to do that good work, even on quite a significantly reduced budget from 2015. They've also been recently Ofsteded inspection, and they came out with a good inspection. So I seek approval to extend that contract.
Does Cabinet agree the recommendation?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you. That takes us on to item 12, which is the Council Corporate Performance Report. Of course, this comes regularly to Cabinet. I think the only thing to highlight is that performance on our measures is showing an upward trend, and I think that's worth welcoming, and hopefully it will continue. So I don't intend to say much more on that report. Do Cabinet agree the recommendations on the Corporate Performance Report? Agreed, thank you. So we move into item 13, which is the exclusion of the press and public. Can somebody move and second that?
Move.
Agreed?